What's happening, people, and welcome in to another episode of All You Can Eat Warriors. And I always say, All You Can Eat Warriors. And it's great to have you guys in here with us this evening. And my man Ash, as always, Mr. Reliable. He's a Jackson Ford. He's a Jackson Ford of content game. He never misses a game.
Trying, brother. I'm trying. I missed a couple there, but we're getting back on track, hey, baby. We're getting back on track, my brother. How you doing over there in New Zealand?
I'm doing good, brother. Yeah, no, things are going well over here. Yourself? Everything okay?
Yeah, bro. Yeah, obviously. It's still cold over here. You're gonna have me every night here in Australia complaining about the cold. I'll probably, I don't know what I'd be like in New Zealand, bro. But maybe one day I'll come over to New Zealand and see what you boys are like over there. So, but yeah, that's what it's like over here in Oz, bro.
Nah, man, you'll be fine, bro. You'll be absolutely fine. Shout out Jazz. Kia ora was fun. Speed tackle the likes and share with your family and friends. Let's go. Yes, absolutely. Please, let's get up to 50 likes, please, if we can, straight away. That's our minimum usually. But welcoming everyone. Dean, good evening, Sir Jazz, as always. My man Greg, and pre-game. We need Bunty. Oof. Yeah, your team list is out, man. But man, let's quickly. I know we had a watch along on Friday night. That was quite eventful. I look I look back at myself and I have to kind of reevaluate things. But I mean, there's some moments in that game. If you watch back, guys, on the watch along, I just go berserk. I said I was going to knock CHT out at the airport. Yeah, I'm all crap, man. I'm full of crap, guys. I just talk myself into things so stupidly. But
Von Tyson over here.
Yeah, man. I felt like going to drivers and I stuff that, man. I'm not going there. But yeah, how are you feeling, bro? Are you reflecting on it? How's things going for you? Have you had any extra thoughts? Like, get them out now before we move forward, I suppose, into the Tigers game.
Yeah, it's just been the story of our season, hasn't it? You know what I mean? Like, just games like that have been fairly up and down, injuries happening during mid-game and just things not going our way. We had moments of dominance. Like, I felt like from probably about the 30 to 40 minute onwards, we were fairly dominant. We should have came home with the victory, 4 tries to 3, but really unfortunate there. I think that's the reason why everyone loved that, loves the live streams, bro. We get to see the raw reactions. I've watched it over again and, yeah, the classic, both of us put our heads down or walk away from the camera. But again, it's time now. We've had time to think about things and stuff. And like in the moment, it's allowed to say these things in the moment. But I know that we're both, looking at it now and just we feel for Chanel as a human being, as a professional football player. We wish he had that moment. You know what I mean? I feel like everyone did. But again, when it comes to it's all said and done. That's in the past now. He's a human being. We got to get around him, get him up for this game here on the weekend because he's the 6th jersey again, and whoever puts on that jersey, we have our full support. And I know you're exactly like that too, Levon. So don't be too hard on yourself for your words that you had on that stream. But it was so good to the 1-2s, baby. The 1-2s, you reckon?
I just don't want CHT messaging. Where you at, boy? I'm at the airport right now. That would have been gold, though. But I appreciate it. As Jazz said, don't worry, we all ride the emotions. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah.
And Lexi, yeah, man, we feel for CHT.
100%.
Thank you, my man Dean. Yeah, man. Okay, I think we're good, man. We've talked it through. I think we let it out. Let's get into I suppose some of the latest news.
Mm.
Pompey's has had surgery. He is out.
Yep.
Yeah. What's your thoughts? Just a kind of a recap on Pomps and maybe his overall performance of this so far this season. But I
Mm.
suppose, yeah, now looking into the likes of a MGT coming in is quite exciting as well.
Yep. Yeah, 100%, bro. Like, again, just feels like one of those seasons, right? Shout out to Pomps. Like, he became everyone's hero for a minute there this season. You know what I mean? You remember that part there where Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, sent to everyone was like, get Bumpy in there, change it up. Bumpy went in there, and I thought he did a good job. I think that we've seen a little bit of progression from Bumpy. I don't think he'll ever be like probably the top 5 center in the league, but he's a really good center that will hold down and do a job out there. Attacking wise, he's really good on that center edge, and really unfortunate to hear him go down with a knee injury. But again, a lot of people have been talking about, we have got a lot of great juniors coming through, and this is an opportunity for Graham Dalfa. So really, really excited to see how he goes out there on the field. Like, obviously we saw him in a couple of games stint, or that Dolphins game. He looked incredible. Bigger body, handles contact well. He's got that little bit of a Tuivasa shake to him as well. So really, really excited for that. But all the love goes out there to Bumpy because, as I said, it was actually pretty crazy to see, the fans of last year that were grilling Bumpy for his game, and, everyone didn't want him there. And then there was a moment this season, everyone flipped on that and everyone wanted Bumpy in that center position. And his goal kicking was amazing this year for us. He stood up when we needed him most, but unfortunately, the knee injury, and that's just, again, the story of our season, bro, to be honest. And just hope he's doing well and he recovers well, bro.
Yeah, I think quickly Dean asked, was it ACL? I think it was MCL. I can't really
I
remember.
heard MCL, I think, yeah.
Which is usually 6 to 8 weeks or something like that, or could be longer, I don't know. Shout out Michael, and shout out, yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Ash. Thank you, man. We appreciate the support. I just want to go on a tangent here. I don't know. It's something I've been thinking about. Assistant coaches. Now, I suppose they're kind of like the hidden figures. But so the head coach Webby gets the brunt of the criticism. The players get a lot of criticism. Assistant coaches don't usually get a lot of attention. But is there something in terms of assistant coaches this year that maybe Morgan going to the Cowboys, do you feel as though that has, I'm reaching here, I might be reaching, I might be playing a bit of devil's advocate. Do you think there's anything in terms of, have we missed a spot with assistant coaches in terms of how we're playing this year? Do you feel any of that kind of energy, or am I just reaching for an idea to find some solution as to why things may not be going so well?
No, so for me, obviously losing Morgo is a big deal no matter what. A guy that, obviously last year we made top 4, we played some really amazing football, but from everything I knew off of Morgo, he was a really good defensive coach there too. So he put a lot of our defensive systems in place. But moving to the Cowboys, you can kind of say devil's advocate to that is the Cowboys are not one of the best defensive teams in the competition, if not far away from that, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I understand that thought that we have maybe lost that little bit of a piece, but I still go back to there is moments of this year where we look even more dominant than what we were last year. Very early on in the year when we went through our trials, our early part of the season, it's kind of the reason why I always go back to it. The way we were defending, attacking on defense, is probably something I didn't really see as much last year as what it was this year. It felt like a step up in what we had. But it just, I honestly, bro, I feel like a lot of people are in the same boat as us. It's really tough to really put your finger on what's really going on with us at the moment. I feel like we don't want to give so much to excuses of injuries, whether they have hampered us or not, because a lot of people were, saying that, obviously injuries have really hampered us this season, but people don't want to put a lot of thought into that because it sounds like an excuse, if that makes sense. But let's be real, we have dealt with a ton of injuries this year. But even then, it just, I felt like there's been a lot of chop and changing, a lot of other things that are going on in the background. I don't know if the assistant coach was the only thing, but shout out to Morgs. He did an amazing job for us last year, and maybe that could be a little piece of the puzzle. But my only thought to that is, him leaving to the Cowboys, you'd think the Cowboys would feed off that
Yeah.
defensive system that he's bought into and would go on better from that. But that really hasn't happened either. So, and we still have a solid defense. We'll get to a little bit of stats a little bit later on, but we're starting to get back to our defensive system. I know the Raiders game was a little bit of a worry, and I don't think the Raiders threw a lot of us at us in that game there too. But in our 3-game stint there, we've actually gotten back to a sub 20 defensive team, and we're still holding in a top 8 defensive team this year, even though we conceded 66 to the Titans. So there's still really good defensive systems in that place there, but it feels like this year is just one of the most unluckiest years that it's just a Warriors year. It feels, it's so shit to say, but it feels like a Warriors year.
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny because I was looking at the team and the performances and the moments where we've collapsed and stuff. It's like, man, this is just giving me. I didn't think I'd see this under a Webby regime, but it's kind of had that feel to it. But just still quickly on Morgs, yeah, I suppose just chucking the idea of that out there, and I kind of ultimately agree with you that just everything that's fallen into place, you can't really pinpoint it to the assistants and stuff. And even in fact, when Morgs was coaching in the Nathan Brown era, I wanted him sacked. I thought because I heard he was the defensive coach then, and I was like, get rid of this guy. So I think I think a lot of sometimes assistants benefit from a new coach or a great coach. I mean, you look at the likes of a Stephen Kearney who was under Bellamy, and we saw what happened at Para. It's different for each coach, obviously, but I think there's kind of, you can't read too much into it, but I agree with a lot of what you're saying there.
I think the best, overall, if you think about it, I feel like our whole club and our whole organization has really benefited had Webby coming over. And I know we had instant success last year. It was incredible in that, but I still see the system that we're running is going to do it, but benefit us to the fullest. Like when everything gets back to normal, obviously we're looking at next year, but even towards the end of this year, the system works. We look dominant in majority of our games too. That's the weird part. It's just we have these lapses where we allow just teams to get on top of us and we just can't rein it back and we can't finish in the big moments. The other thing I did want to touch on with that too is kind of the thoughts starting to slip my mind a little bit right now, but this year, the subs, you look at the Brisbane Broncos, right? There's been a lot of talk about the Brisbane Broncos this year and how far they've slipped from a grand final team and all the way down. And a lot of Broncos fans will just come out and say, Adam Reynolds, just injury to Adam Reynolds. Look at our season, comparatively to the Broncos. We've had an injury-riddled Sean Johnson from the start of the season. He was dealing with that Achilles injury. If you listen to the Play On podcast with Sean Johnson, shout out Shawnee. We all float together, my brother. We're all Warriors boys here. So shout out to Shawnee. Go check out that podcast and that. But he was actually going into detail he was carrying an injury. 95% of the players in the competition are carrying injuries. So a lot of these boys are still carrying injuries. But having our number one player that was there last year, that carried us to a spot last year with the whole side behind him, and having him limited with injury, it coincides with the Broncos having to deal with Adam Reynolds being out for majority of the season, how far they're falling off. When we lose a key piece like that and trying to recover from that, it's really, really hard to do. Only really highly established teams can do that. The Panthers and the Melbourne Storm, which is where we want to be in the future. But maybe we should be looking into we're going to grow into that in the future. We're not going to be there just yet, but there's something we can get excited for in the future. But that's just my thoughts overall. If you're looking around throughout the whole competition, the Broncos' excuse is just for one big injury of Adam Reynolds. They've had a lot of other injuries and that, but that's their one big key piece. But I feel like Warriors fans are too worried, to sit back and be that's an excuse for us. But we've had one of the worst injury hit seasons I've seen for a little while, and the amount of different combinations we run out with each week is just mental. We got another new fullback this week. The Haas pairing is makeshift Haas pairing since Shawnee and Metcalf fell off. So yeah, it just feels like that sort of season for me, bro. Honestly,
I speak to your point. The dependence on one player or one or two players, as you said, the Panthers not so much. They have that breadth of experience across the board through their depth. And going just quickly on depth, the quality of depth is important too. I understand that we've just put in place our systems. That doesn't necessarily mean the quality of the depth is great. I'm not discrediting any of those guys that are coming through, but that may take time to build in a stronger system that when a guy does come through, it's still relatively strong. But you're absolutely right. We're in a similar boat to say a Reynolds and the Broncos, that we actually depended on a guy like Sean, and not only for his kicking game, not only for his execution, but we needed a strong defensive Sean,
Mm,
just as important as his attacking game. And you look at a guy like Tamari and you say, he's got the strong defensive attributes,
he
uh,
does.
but at the same time he lacks those execution elements that Sean brings. And
Mm,
I suppose that's the element that I am so looking forward to if Sean can come back. But if not, that's okay. But that the double element of a player like a Reynolds, that his work off the ball is just as good as his work on the ball.
yeah.
Uh, and that's that, and we're still in that stage of dependence as a club. And so the more we understand that, you just can't swap these guys in and out all the time. You have to, we do have key pieces that we rely on, but hopefully we'll get to a stage at a point of stage that we will have the depth, the quality of depth to be able to
Mm.
come in and cover those spots at times as well. So just a thought around that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And like when you think about it, like, I still love Tomato Martin at that 7 role, and he's still our best 7 currently right now with Shawnee being injured. And even with that
Yeah.
period where Shawnee was hampered with injury, he was our best option. Like, he went through a stint there where he was like, I think 10 try assists in 3 games. Like, he had an amazing touch of the ball. But when teams started to figure out their kicking game wasn't really there, and then we've dealt with injuries for our outside backs, is where most of our meters came from, where we get into good field position. That's when our kicking game seemed to lack a little bit more. That's when teams started to figure out, if you just hold them behind the 50, just stick in the contest, the kicking game's just not there with these two halves here. And that will grow in time. Like, I believe in Smarty Martin. I believe in Chanel Harris-Davida. I believe all these guys are still developing and still growing into their game. Like, definitely Chanel, you know what I mean? So that's just my thought too, is like, it's also a good thing to see that what we could be without Shawnee. Like, and this is coming, like, I love Shawnee to death. And it's like, Shawnee's definitely a big key missing out for us right
Yeah.
now. But with Tomato Martin and Shino Davida there, I still love a lot of their game as well.
Yeah, I do too.
That's the weirdest part too. Like, if you look at that Raiders game, even with a poor kicking game, we were fairly dominant from start to finish. The only thing we lacked on was goal line defense and key moments. We switched off. The Doggies game, we held into that contest with 3 key injuries, to our back line there. We had to shift our full back line, and we held it with the top 5 team that a lot of people are boosting up to be a top 4 defensive team, one of the best defensive teams in the competition. We did that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's been some great moments there too. It's just, I feel like the season's been one of those ones where the amount of injuries and swapping around, amount of things that have gone wrong, to where like our combination's just not been able to set throughout this whole year, which we've been waiting on since the start of the year, right? I remember us talking early on in the show going, like, we got to get to a point of like round 10 before we start figuring out if this team's ready to go yet, like get the attacking systems in place, because our defense was fairly set, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that never happened because the amount of chop and changing for key players like missing out due to injury. So that's just my thoughts on it. It's just a really hard season to really sit down. If you want to be a simplistic person and simply term, just say, like, we are the old school Warriors and we've gone back to being the old Warriors. Like, I can't really fight against you at all at that point. If you want to look that way, it is what it is. But I still see a lot of great things in our side, and I see a lot of really deadly moments in our side. It's just, we're finding a way trying to now to get over that hump with one of our biggest key pieces. So, without Sean Johnson. So it's going to be growing pains either way. And I don't see any other halfback that we have, or even around the other competition, that has a better kicking game that'll hold us up. You know what I mean? Like, that's on the market, if that makes sense. So this is what other teams have got to deal with too. So that's just my thoughts. And overall, I still believe we're a great side. It's just one of those years, man, honestly.
Yeah, I just want to talk on Jacko's point. Chooks can't beat top sides. They have 2 short kicking halves, which is interesting. That is a fair point. What I will argue about that point is that in terms of Jacko's talked a lot about Tamaide lacking that long kicking game, and that's understandable. But just as important as a long kicking game is you need to be able to defend that grinded out style. If you go back to early in the season, Sean was doing those long kicks and it was falling on the 10 and blah, blah, blah. And people like, I was sick of this grinding out style. Me and you, we have no problem with that. My only issue was at that time that Sean was being targeted defensively. And so you're almost nullifying all that built-in pressure. What I give Tamaide credit is that, yes, he doesn't have the long kicking game, and Chanel has been doing the majority of it. But if you look at Tamaide's game, he's been pushing up defensively to accommodate for that, and he's been helping out a lot. So it's kind of yes, you miss something, but at the same time you gain something from that
Yeah.
situation. Ideally, you'd have a SJ fully fit to be able to do both jobs like he did 2023. But if you look at the tape, you find that yes, we're putting that kick down, but it's almost we're relieving that pressure. And then likewise, I think with this, the only thing to this argument too is that our team is the best meters team in the comp. I'm not sure if that's since we've
And that's
discussed it. They're still
yeah.
getting in strong positions. It's not like they're kicking from the 30 every set. So you
Nah.
don't need a super long kicking game. You might need a little bit more of an accurate kicking game, but it
Yeah.
doesn't. The way we're playing, it doesn't warrant a truly long, long kick. So that's my only argument to that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
100%.
it's
That's
one of
been
the
my
it's one of
argument.
those years.
Yeah, that's been my argument to a lot of people that are like, we need a 40-20 in our game and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, I don't think we've ever been in a point where we needed to pull out a 40-20 out of the back of it. Like there's moments you want to get into really good field position due to a 40-20 or something like that, right?
Yeah,
But when people got to think about it is when we usually finish our sets, it even happened in that Raiders game, we were finishing our sets within their 30 or their 40. Like we weren't finishing our sets behind our 50-meter line to where we needed a long kicking game, get us out of trouble. Where therefore on the opposite end with the Raiders, there was moments where the Raiders are getting trapped behind their 40, and that's why Fogarty's kicking game looked like substantially better, as due to he had a longer boot. And that's where it comes down to. If you look at like the way that we were getting to really good field position, getting to the 30 and trying to put the kicks up early parts of the season and really build our defensive game from there, it was working really, really well until we started to really notice a lot, as you said, a lot of injuries and all that started to really hit our lineup. Our combinations started to miss. And one of our preferred parts of our game to start the season, everyone loved Rocco Berry and Kurt Capewell combining on that edge for line speed, but forgot, as soon as everything started to crumble, it's all kind of got thrown out of the water, and we wanted to attack and we wanted a kicking game from left, right, and center. So there's a lot of different ways you could think about it. There's not a lot of really amazing kickers in this game, and that's why it's such a premium and such a big thing to have one. But I do believe that you can grow as a kicker into accuracy and putting it into right places. Jonathan Thurston, for me, never had a massive boot where he was going to pull a torpedo up in there. But one of the best kicks that I used to love out of him was when he was in that 40 and getting the roll on, is just that little nudging over the top that was going to find grass in between the winger and the fullback and playing defense off that. So there's little things that he could probably add in a game that could change that look a little bit. So who knows? But that's just my thoughts overall on that, man, honestly.
Yeah. And I even think I was looking at this few games. Yeah, the Roosters have a short. Even Hughes doesn't have a deep kicking, but it's the variety. You're looking for someone that can find grass. Like for me, I like guys that find grass. Like if you can find grass for me, and then the accuracy, like you're saying, the accuracy of the kicks, that's just as important. But just having a long kicker for the sake of having a long kicker isn't the be all and end all.
I would even argue, bro, I don't think Shawnee's got the longest kicking game in the competition, bro. Like, there's been a lot of moments this year or even previous that when we get penalties, Shawnee would only put it probably about 20 meters in front. Like, he'd never really have a big boot on him. And there's been moments in his career where he's tried to put the big long one on and it just hasn't found touch. So Shawnee's never had the biggest kicking game, but he has had a very good footy IQ and very solid game to put a bomb in a certain spot to where we could defend on that, which Chanel probably, being early coming back into the system this is his first year in this system. There's a lot of people got to remember too. Him trying to do a very similar thing and try to replicate that, as we noticed with the Raiders game, because he took majority of the kicking options. It's going to take a little bit of time before he gets it right. And this is mid-season. He's learning how to play six mid-season. Like, he didn't start our season as a six, as we all know. Like, Metcalf was our six and played with our squad majoritively there. Tomato Martin's very similar as well. It's going to take a little bit of time for him to grow into a 7 jersey that really got given to him due to injury and that, and really fall into that. Like, he's always had, it's shown that he's had a good playmaking game, put people through holes, but his kicking game, as in to learn as a halfback and that, unless running with the New South Wales Cup squad, he wouldn't be doing a lot of that with the first squad. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things that we got to take into account as well, as usually when it comes to practice is what happens on that football field. And you got to think, how many times do you reckon to start the year, pre-season trials, that Tomato Martin, Chanel Harris-DeVito were running our squad? It really, wasn't that many. It was always Sean Johnson and Luke Metcalf. So that's really where I think we're at.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on now to the team list, man. Look, it's pretty exciting, man. It's a kind of a fresh backline.
Yeah.
We got RTS at fullback, Dallin on the wing with Leatoa. So I think that combination, although it got muddled up pretty early in the game, that's actually exciting for me to see how those two actually combine. And then you got Telfer, Graham Telfer, and Kossi. Which do you know if these guys have played together in Cup? Would they have kind of had some type of MGT and Koss? Have they played a little bit on the same edge together?
From memory, yeah, Setu I'm pretty sure was predominantly a left side winger. I think he has shifted to a fullback and a right side in Cup part, like last couple of weeks at Cup.
Sorry, I mean Koss.
But Ed Gossi,
Oh,
I'm
sorry,
pretty
yes,
sure he
yep.
was a right side, next to Graham Talfa, because Graham Talfa likes to be on that right side as well. So yeah, I'd say that would be a combination there. But I would, as I kind of just touching on there, I wouldn't be surprised with seeing Setutu getting a top 30 spot, whether he's jumped the pecking order a little bit. I know Gossi's got the name on the sheet there, but we've seen our team list change come up to game day. So I wouldn't be surprised seeing Setutu being in reserves, getting a late little push in. I wouldn't be surprised.
That's actually a potential good shot there. So would you say, in your opinion, should MGT go to the right edge and then Leatoa switch back to the left, or do you think?
It's possible.
Or do you
Yeah,
think
there's a possibility, bro.
Okay, we'll
there's
have
a
to wait and see.
possibility.
Yeah, yeah. Because Leatoa, I know he can. He can play left edge a bit more.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of we'll have to wait and see. But either way, I think it's a good solid backline. Yeah, the Kossi one is probably the big argument for some. I know Setu too. I've come to the thought process of Setu two as that guy. If you do have Kossi there, are you worried with where his current form is that will have a big impact, or do you think he's rounding out his? Is he rounding out his play as we're moving into the back end of the season?
I wouldn't say he's a massive. If a winger is a massive worry for people, there's got to be a lot of other bigger worries in our team overall. But I think he'll go out there and do a job. We got to expect a couple of errors maybe out of him or whatever that's going to come from that, unless he has a really poor game, which is really I don't think he will have a really poor game. Last time I saw the Graham Telfer, Edward Gossi combination was the Dolphins game. In first grade, and I thought he did a solid job there. Had an early error. Webby talked to him at halftime, came out, and they were a really solid edge there. In my opinion, defensively, they held in really, really strong up against Herbie Farnworth and that. So I think that they'll do a good job there. He'll get some decent meters out of the back end, being a bigger winger, as we know with Ed Gossi. And, I'm just happy to see him there. But, Graham Talfa being on his inside probably helps him a little bit more, having that previous combination there in Cup or something like that. So, yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about Ed Gossi being in there. I think he'll do a job. I don't think he'll be a big standout, but he'll do a good job, I reckon.
This is actually a good shout from Mez Pasicula, I think it is, and also can kick. That's another thought process behind it. So yeah, another thing to think about is having, because you do need backups, I suppose, to be able to kick goals. I mean, we've got Mitch Barnett, Dylan Walker at a pinch, but if Pasicala is a genuine kicker, and Dion's saying, I think it's Kossi's last chance. Just quickly on the CHT situation with the goal kicking. Not to bring up the actual past, what happened in Canberra, but I'm actually confident. I actually want him to take the goal kicking this time.
Yeah,
I've talked about it as I talked with Josh about it last night. Saying this is a great opportunity for him to overcome a demon or a setback and try and move forward. And I'm just thinking this might be a great opportunity. Do you think it's too soon, or do you think his confidence would be too? I mean, you add in the social media, the outbursts online. Do you think he's got the courage or conviction to kick those goals on Friday night?
Ooh, it's a tough one because I don't know Chanel as a person, but from the outside looking in, he just seems like a quiet figure that just goes about his work and that sort of stuff. He doesn't really seem like the out loud and proud one. Sometimes when you go over that white line, you may change, you know what I mean? We've seen a couple of moments where he can become a chirpy player, like with the Cowboys and stuff. And previous to that game, he actually held a fairly decent kicking percentage. Like, he wasn't too bad of a goal kicker. Whether it was just late change in the game, he felt a little bit of yips for the night. It could just be an off night. You know what I mean? These things happen. A lot of players have dealt with that before. Off the top of my memory, I'm trying to think of there was a decent goal kicker, I think for the doggies at one stage, had a very similar sort of thing and a very similar sort of miss. I've seen some really good goal kickers miss sort of things like that before.
Yeah.
So, it probably would be a good thing for him just to go back in there, get the tee and, get some confidence off that and build some confidence. And as you said, defeat the demons that are there before and prove to everyone you are that guy. So it'd be an amazing confidence booster if he goes, a positive night with the kicking boot. You know what I mean? That would be really amazing for him for his future. So I agree with you there. But do also worry that, back-to-back kicking games, he'll also have that stigma over him and it'll be really tough for him to get over it. This is my whole thing of like with our younger boys and that, as soon as people label people as certain things, it's really hard to shake that stigma. So hopefully, he gets over that hump and a lot of people can trust back in him again because he's a great footballer. I don't think anyone's disagreeing with that, but yeah, that's just my thoughts. I'd love to see it, bro. Just see him overcome those demons, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's a great point. And shout out to Miz. Maybe CHT needs a mind coach sports psychologist to help with pressure. Doubts maybe something for him. We've talked about it. I don't know if I've talked with you, Ash, but I'm aware of Sean had a psychologist. I'm sure there's a psychologist on hand.
I think there is a team psychologist, bro.
Yeah, and I've said that they should pay for one. It's great to have one on the staff. So no doubt, Miz, that's on the mind. There's probably a lot of that ties in with his retirement last year and maybe getting away from sports. And has he prepared himself in the time that he was off to prepare for that, whatever his triggers or his struggles are? Because no doubt he retired because it was just too much. I mean, the Warriors were horrible,
but, very poor.
But it's not just the Warriors, but the grind of NRL and all of that surrounding it. Like he definitely will need to activate the preparations and strategies he's worked on. So hopefully, I definitely feel they are aware of that as well.
And the last thing on GHT, bro, because I really want to drive home this point. Like, as I kind of said before, like, there was not one part of the season to where, like, we started the season, we did our, like, what we thought our depth and all that, we chat about all that sort of stuff. We thought Chanel Harris-Tavita was going to be playing cup all year. You know what I mean? Like, it was his first year back off a year layoff, like, in a new system, a completely new system. He wasn't a part of our system last year with all the boys coming together and that. Like, and he's been thrown into the deep end after a lot of injuries have gone their way. He was most likely probably our Tomato Martin. So Shawnee, Luke Metcalf, Tomato Martin, and then Chanel Harris-Tavita would have been. So he's our fourth choice half. Yes. So like, this is the thing is like, I totally feel for him. He's only just getting back into football. He's played well. Like he made a couple of amazing saving tackles in that game too. His defense was on, but people completely forgot about that because of the face value. You know what I mean? But, yeah, I just wanted to shout out Chanel. Like, people got to remember, as I said, like, these combinations just weren't meant to happen this season, and they've happened. So we just got to roll with it and hope these boys will grow every game, and I think they will.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Let's just go down into the forwards. AFB, Egan, Barnett, that's always great. Marata, Capewell, and Walker. You're pretty happy that I've looked at and that's the plate that front row for me since I think it was the Broncos game. That's been probably the front row that's been the most solid, and I'm pretty settled on it. Like we'll get into your stats, no doubt. You've got some defensive stuff that kind of matches those guys starting. Have you got any other thoughts around that?
Nah, bro, it's very solid. Shout out to Kurt Catewell, as we kind of touched on before. I think we said in the Raiders stream, well, I said anyway, like, that was probably two of his best games in a Warriors jersey back to back, Doggy's game in that one and backing up of Origin. So he's slowly showing the things that people probably want to see from him. I'm not sure if a lot of people are seeing it still, but he is showing the things that we bought him for. And Mitch Barnett as well, now he's got to freshen up. He's not playing Origin, then playing this game. So I think he's going to come out with a vengeance and really lead our forward pack there, and would need to with guys like Oti Kamanu and Bole and Isaiah Papali'i up there in the middle. So I think that forward pack's probably the best that we can name on paper in like at the moment.
Yep. And then a bench of Freddie Lussick, Jackson Ford, Jazz Tavanga, Leka, Halasima. Great for Leka that he's getting some crucial game opportunities. I think this would be his third straight game, which is great. Just got a question here from our Matador, and maybe you can. I've talked about this a little bit, but I'd be interested in what you say, Ash. Do you guys feel carrying Lussick on the bench is a waste, or if Webby isn't utilizing him properly? It's almost as if he's on the bench only for injury covered for Egan. What's your thoughts?
That's pretty much That's pretty much exactly what he's there for, bro. As we know of Wade Egan, unfortunately, like there's been moments where he's unable to finish out a game, and if we got to push Dylan Walker to that hooker role and that, we just don't look exactly the same. Freddie Lussick has filled in that role fairly well, in the past, and that defensively he's there, no doubt about it. And even then, like we've seen him go out there and play in the middle. He just seems like that type of guy that's around the club at the moment that like just put me in there, coach, and I'll do it for you. So like at the moment, with the team list the way it is, with the injuries that we have, Freddie Lussick is our best option in that 14 jersey, and I can't see us rolling with anything else in that 14 jersey, in my opinion. So we got to have someone there that's can play hooker to cover Wade Egan, and then someone that's just going to run out there and cover any little spot that we can cover in other places there. If it was all fully healthy, bro, I would agree with a lot of people. I think Chanel Harris-Tavita would be our 14. If everything was fully healthy, ready to go, I think that's the way we'll run. But we don't have that luxury at the moment. And Freddie Lussick's a great player. Like he's slowly growing, and he's showing everyone that he plays with effort for every game. And defensively, that's where he stands out. So I don't think he's a waste at all. Any man that's on that bench is not usually a waste at all. And he's definitely there to cover Wade Egan. That's his first job, in my opinion. He's not out there to play a minute role or anything like that. It's the cover.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, when the best examples of Lussick, and I think Lussick's had some really strong performances where he actually is effective, but it requires actually, like we're saying, a replacement for Egan. Unfortunately, those two injuries, or three injuries previous week and the two this week to outside backs, it nullifies anything that he can offer, because he immediately becomes a middle rotation guy. You're pushing out Liquor to the centers. Kate Wells back out in the center. It's like those types of things that really impact what he can do. But if you look at his actual performance when he does come on at 20 minutes to replace Egan, a lot of the time it's pretty solid. So I would argue that in the perfect situation, and I suppose if you're thinking the last 2 weeks have been an anomaly with injuries to outside backs, he should technically be okay. But yeah, you got to live, I suppose, with those that kind of gamble that Webby's making. A lot of us would probably love to see a full 4-forward bench, but then if Egan goes down in the second minute, would you guys want Dylan Walker to play hooker for 75 minutes? It kind of becomes costly at some point to do a lot of those movements. But 100%. Just quickly on this here, Michael Jobman, I'd love to see our fans come together and support the boys positively and stamp out the negative comments. Yeah, man, absolutely, man. We here at Wires Up TV, we always trying to analyze first. We acknowledge poor play at times, but we don't 100%. Never take it personal. No. Yeah, I mean, I went a bit too far.
It's fine.
I lost control. Yeah, I know, but I'm cracking up myself. I'm like, what the hell are you saying? You're going to go knock this guy out at the airport? That is just ridiculous. And I don't even drink alcohol. That tells you. I might have to get on the top percenters with all 40 over there. I might have to get on change my tune a little bit. I'm losing control, people. My bad, but
liquid confidence.
It might do the reverse, which might benefit me. But yeah, we're all positive here, Michael. We appreciate 100%. You, man. What's this one here from Wasta? Hey, shout out to Wasta, guys. Give Wasta a like. He's a friend of the channel and does his own 100%. Warriors content as well on Instagram. Go follow Wasta, please. I'm sorry I haven't even mentioned that previously, but shout out to bro. He's doing amazing work as well, covering the boys. So give him a follow. Do we need a genuine back five player on the bench? It caught us out 2 games in a row, and saying that we don't have many left. That might be the problem. But you got to that is the risk. And like I just quickly talked about risks. I suppose if there was a back five player, who's the one that has the most versatility?
Well, it was Adam Pompey to start. Remember that mid part of the season? Yes. And people hated that look. People hated it because he wasn't able to get time if there was nothing really going on in the contest. So I agree. Like if we had a player that could cover maybe a middle forward role, but also push out to a wing or a center, like, that luxury, not many teams have that luxury, but if we were able to, 100%, bro, it would have been good to cover, have an edge back or have a winger or something on the bench that can cover that. But, we even saw in Origin, like Billy Slater kind of like did that first look with Cobbo on the bench. Then the second game he had like Kalen Ponga. And unfortunately, some games just don't go the way you entail and some games do. So it's really tough. Like you're damned you do, you're damned you don't. You know what I mean? If you run a 4-forward bench and a forward goes down, you look like a superhero. You know what I mean? You've predicted the future. You go forward bench and your winger goes down. You got nothing. You know what I mean? It's really tough to predict that in the football. So we have players there that can cover multiple positions, and I think that Kurt Capewell does a great job there. Lecker did a solid job there. He had a couple of decent misses there, but to fill in that role, I think he does a fairly good work there. So, but I love the thought, my brother.
I think the actual person is just who you said, Lecker. I think he might be that guy. I was going to say Leatoa because I like the size of Leatoa. I think he could probably do. But Lecker, from what we saw at centre, yes, his footwork, he's not used to that type of footwork sometimes. He does miss some of those. But his overall work at centre is survivable and can give you,
it's
like
good.
we saw the Bulldogs against Sherry, he can bring some brilliant moments.
So, 100%.
For me, Lecker might be your value, like ultimate value guy. So I'd keep maybe him as that 17 for at least this season and then reevaluate. That's just another thought process as well.
And the other guy we used to have was Dylan Walker when we had a good rotation of Tohu and that. Like Dylan Walker was a guy that could cover out the center too, know. So unfortunately we lost that luxury a little bit there, but like not a lot of teams have that luxury anyway. So I love that thought, but sometimes you just can't do that with the team that we have on paper.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, I think that's we've covered the team a bit. Is there any players in that team that you want to talk about or a little bit concerned or you maybe want to highlight? Anyone sort of standing out for you that we need to discuss?
I want to give another shout out to Jazzy Tavanga. When he came on in that Raiders game, really lifted the intensity. I felt like a lot of that was like Mitch Barnett probably trying to ease into the game after Origin. He looked a little bit sluggish early on. Jazzy came on, spelled him for a little bit, and that second moment for Mitch Barnett was so much better because he had a little bit more rest on the bench, and he obviously had that little moment early on in the game to find himself in the contest. So shout out to Jazzy. I thought he was incredible. His foot speed from the middle, his momentum work, his chopping tackles from the middle really helped us, and that's when the period started, when we started to really shift the game back in our favor. Also, Jackson Ford, probably, again, we kind of do touch on it. Like, I love Jacko as a player because he's a high work rate player, gets through a ton of work and all that, but it's just the errors, and it's the errors when they happen in the worst positions possible. He's definitely going to have some errors in him in like other positions when he's trying to do line running and stuff like that. He'll drop a ball here and there, but when you work out your own end, those sort of moments, like he did that in the Raiders game from memory, and he's done that in the past too. Just needs to work on these certain things. He's a great player there. He can play a good 80 minutes if he needs to and that, but these are the things that he needs to fix up in his game. But from top to bottom, bro, I think it's a very solid team. Hopefully Ed Gossi comes out there, plays an amazing game, because we all want to see Ed Gossi perform and play amazing too, especially with the stigma around Ed Gossi. But a game with Roger Tuivasa-Sheck at fullback, which is what everyone kind of wanted as well. More of that. I'm sure he's going to go out there and absolutely kill it because Roger is Roger. But yeah, your thoughts on the reserves, bro? Is there any chance of any of these boys in the reserves coming in? I know we kind of touched on Setu too. Do you reckon that's a possibility? Like, what's your thoughts there with the reserves list?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Setu 2 is one that I would like to see. I'm surprised Tom, Ali, and Bunty are the two that have really dropped out of favor. I suppose Ford moving to the bench has kind of nullified their need. I mean, you probably look at Ford, Jazz, and Lecker, more of your actual impact guy. It's a shame those two have dropped out, but if they ever get a chance to, you'll love to see them. Dimitrik, again, another guy you've talked highly of and I've seen and would love to see him. But Setu 2 is probably a one. You just want something a little bit different from the wing position. I've respected Montoya and Dowles. Dowles has been off in terms of form. But Setu, an opportunity for him just to show something. Again, he might have a Leka Halasima moment in the game that you might just need something like that. To get yourself over the line or build some momentum. So we know what Koss brings. We understand his value too. But I would like that kind of a speedier kind of option. But maybe he'll get his moment. He's been made in the top 30. So, but it could be what you said at the start of the stream is that he might jump in there. You never know. So,
Yeah, it really depends on pecking order and all that sort of stuff. But
Yeah.
also just checking our New South Wales Cup team list there. He's been named on New South Wales Cup team list, so it's probably more likely Ed Gossie is going to be playing for us. Other than that, there's Paulie Roach is back off injury here. He's been named at the number 7 jersey for us in Cup. So interesting look there. Obviously, he looked like he jumped Freddie Lussick in the pecking order there for a little bit this season. Whether he gets his way back into that sort of lineup, he was very good for us in that. Zion Ma'u is also back there too, which is really good to see. Obviously, back off injury. Batia Foa, Jacob Laban, Sifukula will be playing there. Tennis Dale Smith. So no Tom Arles named in this team list here. So whether he might be a late inclusion, I'm not too sure. But again, that's just running off our Cup team list there. So I'm really excited to see those boys go out there for their hit up there too. And Paulie Roach, as I said, back off injury. Same with Zion Ma'u. So maybe a chance for those boys to find their way into our lineup later on in the season. Who knows?
Paulie Roach, yeah, the fact you mentioned him, he's the kind of guy I'd like to see. I think he's just more of a tempo kind of hooker, can pick things up through his running game, but also his activity. So yeah, I'd like to see him come in at some point. And just you said he's played a bit of 5/8, a bit of halves too.
So he's named half this week, but he came in as a halfback, so he's never really played a lot of hooker. Majoritively, through
so that's valuable.
And that, so
yeah, that's a valuable piece. I mean, you could probably say if you had a Paulie Roach on there and a Leka Halasima on the bench, you're kind of covering a lot of the actual backline there, different positions. And then you might hold a Jazz Tavanga and a forward. That could be a bench style that you might see an option for. But Paulie's definitely, I think his, Leotoa, he's getting his opportunity now coming back from injury. But Paulie's another one, just didn't quite get to see the full picture. And, sometimes the full picture with the young ones, like we saw with Leka, they got an error in them and they will have those errors. But you just want to see them getting ample minutes to show their full package. And I don't think Paulie yet has had that opportunity. I'm pumped for Paulie as well at some stage. Dimitri, do you think he's more of next year type project? Is he someone that you could see coming in if there's an injury to say a Jazz or who's that forward or another forward, another middle forward?
I could see him maybe snag a late spot later on to just get back into the NRL and get up to first grade standard and stuff. Like, he's been killing it in Cup. Still has some moments in Cup where he's still got to pick up on because he's playing majority out the front row now. So when he was coming up for the grades, he would play lock, so fairly in the middle, but I've seen him play edge as well. He's very versatile through there. He's put a lot of weight on his frame by the looks of it. So maybe just easing him back into football due to his injury, the ACL that's put him out for a long time. Maybe it'll take him a little bit longer and we might not see him this season to next season. But if he's ready to go and all that, there's definitely an opportunity for the run in home to carry him on the bench if we have to there too. So I'd probably sway more so that we won't see him this season, but I'd love to see him this season if that makes sense, because he's a massive talent.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Hey guys, I appreciate you guys being in here. We got 52 of you guys in here. If we can get 50 likes, I know that's kind of where we target. I know the numbers have dropped off significantly since the boys have kind of, the numbers have faded a little bit, but the faithful that are here, if you can hit that like, I know it only takes 1 or 2 seconds, but it does help with our algorithm and pushing our content out. So we appreciate that. Let's get into the Tigers, man. Probably I watched the Tigers last week against the Rabbitohs. And I'll be interested because I know you've watched a lot of Tigers and observed their players, but man, they just threw the ball around like licensed to do whatever you felt, man. Galvin was just flicking the ball around. They were just offloads for days. It's like they've all kind of accepted their fate.
And, pretty much.
And Benji said, "Bro, have at it, do what you want." But what's your read on the Tigers and where they're at, and kind of what to look out for us in terms of how they're playing?
Yeah, I think that Well, they played one of their better games like for the last like 4 or 5 weeks in that Rabbitohs game. I think their two best games in their last 4 game stint has been the Rabbits and the Storm. But their definite negative is they're probably the worst defensive team in the competition, if not the second worst worst defensive team in the competition. Like within the last 4 weeks, bro, this is their like result. So the Roosters are a great football side. They put 40 on them, 40-6. The Storm put 40 on them, 40-28. The Melbourne Storm do that. The Sharkies 58-6, so they've conceded 58-6, and the Rabbitohs 42-28. So they've conceded over 40 points for the last 4 weeks. And then if you continue going back, they conceded 56 to the Dragons, conceded 42 to the Cowboys. That's definitely their Achilles heel is defensively. They're not holding into contests, so they allow their football to really play off the back of that. But you're 100% right. Benji's legit giving them a license to throw the ball around. It's very like free-flowing sort of football. They can obviously trouble teams with playing that sort of football. We've seen it towards the end of last year as well. We started to get troubled by lower end teams that were just, playing somewhat fuck it footy, you know what I mean? Just throw the ball around, see what happens. It's a really tough like style to actually defend against, but what that also brings is a whole lot of errors. So that's really what's limiting them. Ill-disciplined errors and their defense is not holding in. And kind of to also drive home the point of where they're at the season, I'm pretty sure I just saw before John Bateman is going back to the Super League for the rest of this year and will be coming back in 2025. So they're pretty much just like throwing everything out and saying, let the young boys play at the moment and let's just see what happens. So that's just the West Tigers at the moment, my brother. They got a lot of great young talent in there, but they've put them in there really, really early and just hoping they don't like sink. They're hoping they swim. So that's just really where they're at.
Shout out to Rennie Matua. Rennie's doing a good job as well with his podcast. Ren talked about, I saw a little short that he's looking at their market defense, and he talks about, market defense, you kind of try to stagger your two markers further back to kind of cut off angles in and behind the ruck and that type of thing, and kind of spy, keep an eye, you kind of cheat, he was pretty much saying. And he was talking about how the Tigers are really actually tight on each other. They're not even watching what's happening at the hooker position. I wonder if there's some options there for the likes of Egan to have a kind of a standout game. Ren's got that eye, that detail as a footy player. But yeah, that's a point I found interesting, that their defensive system is kind of like speaks to what you're saying. There's some definite opportunities there, and hopefully the boys like Egan and that get a chance to kind of attack those frailties and weaknesses.
Yeah, 100%. It really comes off the back of, like, first of all, we got to get our forwards and our backline on a roll on, which I believe the team that we named, and like from seeing us this season, we're really good at just getting on front foot and playing front foot footy if we need to and stuff. So we'll get into good field position that way. And then having Wade Egan just to get in the confidence for that ruck game. And that would be really good to see, especially with Roger Tuivasa-Sheck back at fullback. You'll probably see a lot more moments of him coming through the middle and doing some damage there. So that's what I'm really excited for, especially when they got a lot of bigger bodies in middle forwards there that are very sluggish at covering a defender, stuff like that. There's so many gaps through them, like that Titans versus Tigers game, which I couldn't believe they win. They conceded 9 line breaks from the Titans, and majority of them came through the middle. So I could see a lot of good moments for us through there. So that's where I sort of look at it as well. But then they got a player like Api Coruscant that can do very similar things to us. So if we're not tight in the middle as well, that thing can happen with us. But on our end, that's the way I see us getting through some really good football.
What have you made of Galvin? I suppose it's from a viewing perspective, it's been exciting to just sort of see him let loose. And he's done decently well. I mean, do you think he's a genuine star of the future, Galvin?
Yeah. The only thing that worries me is that he's been chucked in really, really early, and there's a massive spotlight on him already. There's already been thrown out names. I've heard people call him the next Brad Fittler. I've heard like people call him some really crazy, like massive names, bro. Like it's just, he's a great player, bro. Like for was he 18-year-old to jump into that team and really take over and look like some of their bright sparks there. But we've seen it with poor teams in the past. Like, I felt like when our poor period, like Reece Walsh was an 18-year-old running out there and he looked like one of our bright sparks there too. So, and it probably didn't help him being with us for that period. So I think he's an incredible player. I think he's definitely a player for the future. I just hope that he doesn't get burnt by the media cycle and all that, which he already has been in the spin of at the start of the season, whether he was going to stay and go and all that. So they're full of them through the side, bro. That Lauliti, was it? Lauliti is Lauliti.
Yeah.
Bro, he reminds me of like a Brian Toto from Wish a little bit. He's got a little bit of errors in his game, bro, but if he tightens up on that, he looks very, very strong. Fa'atape, I've seen a lot of him in Cup. He's a fairly strong young player or whatever coming through. So they got a lot of that, but again, they're bleeding him really, really early, and they've done it majoritively through the season. That's really what's hampered them overall.
Yeah, Lauliti, I saw him drop it. He dropped that sitter, and then the Rabbitohs. So I'm hoping he has one of those moments. Let's just talk maybe quickly on Uppy. I think he's been still quality and class. The way he plays, he's just he's a great player, eh?
Yep.
But yeah, how have you felt he's gone this year in terms of his performance?
Yeah, he's probably been their most damaging, their most consistent. Like when he's out there consistently, he's had injuries this season, a couple of suspensions in there, whatever, but he's been really, really solid for them this season when he has been there. He's played 7 for him for a pinch. He's definitely the heart of that side at the moment, and probably still waiting on Luai and all those boys to come over and play for the Tigers. So, but yeah, he's an incredible talent. Really unfortunate that obviously he missed out on a Blues jersey, whether that is towards more so the game plan, which we kind of speculated, but also probably wouldn't have helped him playing at the West Tigers where, they're not really performing in that. But yeah, he's still a top talent, bro. Like he still makes people look silly in the middle. His ruck deception's up there for probably the best in the competition, up there with Wade Egan, up there with Harry Grant. He's like one of those sort of hookers that just can make something happen out of nothing. And then when you got players like Dream Buller and all that at the back of that, they can really make you hurt in some moments there too. But yeah, he's been solid this season, bro. I don't think he's really dropped off too much from what he was at Penrith. I just feel like he's just in a really poor squad, in my opinion.
Just going off topic, because what I loved about the Bulldogs is that when Critter came over, it kind of took them to another level. But Serraldo has been really key in terms of turning that culture around, and then I think Crichton's been almost the icing on top of that cake that Serraldo's built. I feel as though Luai has that potential, but it feels as though that shaky ground at the Tigers. It might. Do you think Luai can? It's almost like Luai's got to overcome the West Tigers to be effective. But then again, you have the likes of Uppy there and Luai together that maybe reinforces and reignites the culture there at the Tigers. Do you think Luai can do that?
I wouldn't put it past him. We've seen so many like big moments out of Luai. Like not a lot of people thought he would be a halfback, but he took Samoa to a World Cup grand final against Australia. Like he's had big moments. He's won 3 premierships in a row. Nathan Cleary's already pointed out multiple times that he was the guy coming up. He was the one that he looked up up to in the system. He was incredible. And obviously with the Blues, he was the one that broke our hearts. You know what I mean? He was the one. I know that offload, but that offload could have meant nothing. They hit the ground. It took a player like Jerome Luai to take a moment, and that's what he is. He's very much like a Cam Munster sort of player that if there's anything that presents himself to him, he's going to take it because he has all confidence in himself and his ability, and he's going to do that. And it's kind of what the Tigers do miss a little bit. Like there's been moments to start this year where the Tigers have held into contests and defensively they've been there, but they've been unable to crack teams because they just haven't had that little spark of like a lethal spark, just a guy that's going to throw the ball and hit the moment when it's going to hit. Like they've just gone through the motions, try to find a spot where they can hit, and it's just not really worked out for him. And I think that he adds that with it. But I would agree with you. The Tigers, if you look at the history past, like it's not the most solid ground to come into a club. Like their club has just been from the top to bottom, like it's just rotten to its core. You know what I mean? Like every coach that's been there has been unable to change it. It's due to the media spin around that club. There's so many different things that are going on in that club at the moment. That's why I feel for Benji a little bit because, as a rookie head coach, he's been trying to guy to change everything around. I pray that Luai can do it, but if there's anyone else that can do it, I think Luai can, bro. Like I think a lot of people should be done sort of like, doubting that man because he's just going to prove you wrong every time. He's like the Melbourne Storm. He's just that type of guy.
Yeah, no, don't never doubt Luai, man. Don't doubt
No,
those
never.
those Penrith guys, bro. They just have this neck that may make things happen. Especially those three, four: To'o, Cleary, Luai, and Crichton. In terms from a cultural perspective, I think they have a big pull and great players as well.
Well, I also, before we go with that too, like I don't want to talk too much on it, but there's also been a rumor that's been thrown around. I heard it at work too. A lot of boys getting it off Facebook that Brian To'o was looking at coming with him, but I don't know if that's a complete joke, if that's a meme that these guys are taking out. But I don't expect that at all. But if that was to happen, Brian To'o to come to the Tigers with Jerome Luai, that is a whole different move there too. So I'd love to see that there, but yeah, that could possibly change the Tigers. Who knows? The Panthers could help the Tigers. Who knows?
And why do you need the Brian To'o when you got the To'o from Wish, man?
Exactly.
You got Lao Li.
What a beast.
Lao Li. Yeah, Luke. I mean that'd be interesting too. I reckon the Tigers, bro. I mean the Panthers, they've been like providing resources for like the NRL, bro, the last couple of years. They've been feeding every other like poor team, man. They've been feeding them.
They have. But I think the difference of that too, if you look at it right, like I hate giving this guy a ton of credit, but you got to give him a little bit of credit. Like Phil Gill has also touched a lot of these clubs as well, if that makes sense. Like he touched us for a little period, and I would have said that being with us for that little period there, he would still have connections with our boys and would have told our boys to go for Andrew Webster when the doggies probably would have been instrumental to getting obviously Serraldo over too, where the Tigers obviously don't have a lot to do with Phil Gill there too. So whether he's the magic man with the magic dust, I don't know, but I'm sure Luai can do a job out there, and I hope he does, bro, because I love that story arc of someone just like overcoming everything and becoming the man, because I love seeing people shift their narratives so quickly.
Oh man, harder. Okay, man. Anyone else, like before we get into combined 17, that kind of stands out for you from the guy to maybe watch out for us, someone that we maybe haven't really been observing, and or a group of players that is there anyone that we really need to be careful of on the field outside the obvious is the Galvins, the Bullers, the the
Coruscants. Yeah. I'd say like Stafford Toa, seeing him back in this lineup is going to be really exciting to see. He's been out for a quite decent chunk of this period, like for the season. We've seen him have amazing games against the Valentine Holmes game. I'm pretty sure he scored 3 tries against Valentine Holmes and made him look absolutely silly. I know a lot of people will take away and say Val is not the best defensive center in the game, but at that point he was upwards of being one of the best centers in the game. The one I'm watching out for, bro, is Latu Fainu, and just seeing him back in that level there. He's been kind of a guy that's touched first grade a little bit, been dropped back. I think he's had injuries and stuff to him too, and he's been found his way into the 14 jersey as well. So he hasn't really had his time to develop as a first grade half, but all through the juniors, bro, this guy had one of the biggest names for the juniors. He looks like majoritively as a 6 to me, like he runs the ball better than what anything else he can do, but he's still got that really nice slick ball playing like a Josh Schuster type, like a Isaiah Katoa type, likes to get really deep into the line, just likes to dummy and go on his first option anyway. So we've got to watch that. I'm really excited to see what he sort of brings there too. Him and Lockie Galvin both being really young halves, so that could go right, that could go wrong. It's the inconsistency that worries me a little bit with that halves combination, because I've seen it before where young halves combination comes out and brains it, and then the next week they look like absolute shit. This could be the game where they come out and absolutely brain it. So we've got to be switched on for these boys here too. Give them all credit and respect coming into this game. But that's the guy I'm watching for, Latu Fainu for sure.
And we've got triplets in this Tigers team. There's like Latu Fainu, there's Samuela Fainu, and there's Sione Fainu. Is it the Fainu brothers? Is it the
Yeah, bro.
Far out. Okay. Well, they all related. You know how there's like the Tupos are all there, technically related, but they're all different families.
When Manasseh comes out, get him in there too. I used to love Manasseh Fainu. He used to play for Manly. He was the one that got locked up, but unfortunately, allegedly stabbing someone in a church or whatever. So shout out to Manasseh Fainu. But all the other boys seem like great boys too. So I'm really excited to see them in the future. Don't go the same way as your brother, please.
Hey, I only wanted to throw hands at the airport. I never said go to stab someone at church.
Yeah, it was either that or some Mormon get together or something. But yeah, it was really unfortunate. Shout out to Manasi. Hope he's doing well and hope he's a change man.
All the best there. Okay. Let's get into this. Papa Lee lock just quickly. Has he been playing lock lately?
No, man. No. So he usually plays on the right edge for the Tigers. They've switched him around a couple of times there, but he's like, he loves to play on the right edge. We saw it at the Parramatta Eels. That's where he played a lot of his best football. Him through the middle, I usually don't like Isaiah Papali'i through the middle. We've seen it with us, with the Warriors. Sometimes he can have some lazy movements for the middle. Even with the Kiwis, when the Kiwis had him in the 13 a couple of times there, I just didn't like him there. I like him on the edge where he can just hit really hard lines. So it'd be interesting to see if they do a late change there maybe, but I don't see that changing at all. I think he'd probably run out there as that 13, and I think that's all he's got to work with there with Benji, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think so as well. Okay, man, let's get into this thing. Combined 17. Appreciate everyone. Yeah. Let's just quickly, Richard. You gonna threaten any players this week, Leo? I don't know, man. Let's see what happens. If there was a Ben Farr out there, I feel a little bit confident, but everyone else seems pretty tough to me right now.
Levon Tyson. Put it in the chat, guys. Levon Tyson. No.
Man, I might not be able to go to the home games anymore, man, because they might say, hey, you're the guy that called out the old Chanel.
Is that Corey Horsburgh? Is that Corey Horsburgh?
I love it. Okay, man, let's get into this combined 17. Look, start off obviously with Dream Buller and Tui Vasashek. I know it's kind of tough, but I think I'm going Buller in this situation. I know he's probably had a down year, would you say? But I mean, he's probably leaked a lot of defensive tries, I imagine. Obviously, he's the last line of defense, and he's probably been. But you probably got to say the guy that's been playing fullback the most over the guy that's he's a fullback. But where do you sit on this one? I kind of sit with Buller.
I go Roger all day of the week. I think Buller is a guy for the future for sure. He's got a lot of talent, but he's still got to get the urgency in his game. He reminds me so much of the Hammer. Like, he just looks so cruisy and just like floats around the field and that. And he may not ever lose that too, because he come up with special moments at times. But there's been a lot of games where he goes missing. Like, there's been, I'd say, majority of the games this season, as you said, he's had a poor season in that sort of way where you probably wouldn't notice that Dream Buller was the guy of last year or even was on the football field. Defensive movements, he gets there late sometimes. The kicks in behind, he'll get there late. I see it with the Hammer all the time, but the only difference is with the Hammer, he's got the speed to cover if anything does go wrong. Dream has some speed to him, but not as much as what the Hammer has. So that's just my opinion on Dream Buller. I think he's a great player for the future and all that, but those are the little things he needs to fix up in his game, is get to his spots earlier and not just flow through the games as much as he usually does. So where I sway to Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, Roger's probably going to give us a good 250 in this game, run for a decent amount of minutes, and he won't let the game push him out of the game, if that makes sense. You will notice Roger Tuivasa-Sheck on the field. There's a 50-50 chance if Dream Buller will do something in this contest or won't do something in this contest. So I'm going to go Roger Tuivasa-Sheck.
That's actually a good point, because we have seen enough Roger tape to know the numbers and the yardage carries, all of those things should be, and he has, when he has played there, stay solid. So yeah, I'd probably based off of that, stick with him. Okay, right wing. So it's Dallin versus, now I think I've seen Charlie Staines on the right wing. Is that right?
That is it, my brother.
Charlie Staines, a guy that I suppose is easily discredited, but he has come from that Penrith system and done well there. But obviously, coming to Tigers, it's like he struggled. But I saw him; he did score a few tries. But I suppose Dallin's argument would be his yardage carries, but Dallin's had a lot of drops lately, a lot of errors. Does Charlie Staines do you think Charlie Staines can win this matchup? Or is it just still, even with a Dallin that's so out of form at times, it feels like he still beats out Charlie Staines?
No, I would never, not 1 inch of my life would ever have Charlie Staines over Dallin Martinez-Lesniak. No way. And if Brody's in that chat, Brody Blake, if you jump in the chat right now, my bro on Down Unders, he just does like Charlie Staines has speed and he'll have moments in him like that and all that. But other than that, bro, the errors in him and it just I've seen Dal can do something off the cuff and have those moments where he'll break a couple of tackles, break something open. Charlie Staines to me just doesn't have that at all. And I didn't know he was Samoan too. So shout out to the Samoan brother, Charlie Staines. But yeah, I just don't rate Charlie Staines at all, really, my bro.
Charlie Kaya. I think that's a Samoan word. Any Samoans in the chat, they might know that. Charlie Kaya, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Right center. So
we're just going to go with Talfa at the moment for us.
Or yeah, let's go Talfa. Shivers.
I think we'll probably push Ali to that right side in this game. I reckon
we'll go, yeah. Stick because I think that was the original plan with Ali and DWZ. So we'll stick with that. So it's Leotoa versus is that Stafford Tor?
I would say Stafford Tor would play right side. Yeah, because he took on Valentine Holmes on that left edge. So yeah, he'll be a right side center.
Okay, so Stafford Tor, you've just talked him up. Leotoa is just getting into his career, though we understand he's a high prospect. Do you go with the experienced Tor in this situation, or does Leotoa's just youthful exuberance win this spot for you?
This one's tough because I know the potential of Ali, but again, like from his 3 or 4 games in first grade that like I've seen, I think is absolutely incredible, and he will get so far past Stafford Tor, I believe. But right now, as a football player, like I think Stafford Tor is a good center. Has the moments to be like really, really outstanding. Has really good footwork. There was a moment there too. Like I think he was like close to touching an Australian jersey, like early 2015s from memory. I probably could be getting that wrong, but playing on the wing. But yeah, I see the ability in Stafford Tor, so I'm probably going to go Stafford Tor just now, but Ali Leotoa for the future for sure, bro. Like
just based on special. like 2, it's been 2 games or whatever it is, but I'd probably just being on fairness give it to the more experienced guy. Okay,
the only thing that's held Toa back, bro, is just injuries. Honestly, like injuries
he's been
have really hampered that guy's career, but he's a fairly good center.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we're gonna go. Just quickly, I saw this boys who's doing the kicking duties. We should actually add in who's the kicker and give the whoever's in the like the kicking duties in the thing as well. So
yeah, 100%.
CHT. Well, we'll get to it. Yeah. Well, hold that thought, Rudu. Thank you for that. You just made me think of something. Okay, so left center would be Telfer Graham. You will stick with that. Graham Telfer. I just say Telfer Graham sounds better than Graham Telfer. And I know we had this argument over RST, FBA.
I
don't know. I like Telfer Graham for some reason, but Graham Telfer, MGT. I'll just go MGT.
We'll call his parents.
Yeah, Solomon Fa'ata'ape. Tricky one because are they both kind of new to the scene?
They are. Yeah, I would go Graham.
You're gonna go Graham Telfer? Yeah.
Yeah, all day. Yeah, I think Fa'ata'ape has a lot of good qualities, but he is still a Q Cup sort of level center, just stepping up into a position here. If they had Dewey raring to go, Dewey would have that spot. If they had Justin Olam, he would be in that spot. So yeah, I think that but Graham Telfer, like if I had these two here, I think Graham Telfer's definitely got the bigger future. He's probably got I think he's got a better left foot step on him. He's a stronger ball carry. So I'm going Graham Telfer.
Yep. Cool. Okay. Now, Ed Kossi versus Luke Laulili. Man, Luke had a few shockers, but he does bring that, like you said, the Brian Wish from To'o, that kind of thing. Koss hasn't been, let's be honest, in great form. Inconsistent, but we know he brings value. So which one do you weigh up as being who wins that spot for you?
Yeah, I know you saw the game last week of Lauli's drop ball and that, but he's he's got a lot of talent. And if I was
Yeah.
to have either one of those two in my cup team who I'm going to bring up, I'll probably look at Luke Lauli. Yeah, again, like he's had some moments where he can just give you those like, ooh, is that Brian? Like I'll probably say, look, ooh, is that Matt Utai like 3.0? Because I feel like Matt Utai was 2.0 is Brian Toto. So we're going good old Matt Utai 3.0, Luke Lauli.
Wish Toto. I'm gonna give him Wish Toto for now. Just
Timu Toto.
Timmy Toto. Okay, so there's your back five. Just quickly on back five, we are winning that out at 3-2, but still tight.
Before we jump on this,
Yep.
bro, it just shows the position that we are in at the moment with our injury crisis. Like, think that this combined, back line, like, there's no Rocco, there's no Bumpy, there's no like, like the amount of players
Yeah.
that we have out, like, is hectic. But that's just my thoughts.
It is, and like it kind of evens out the game if all things going position wise well. The back
Yeah,
line actually is like kind of evened out in many ways. So it kind of
yeah,
in a little way speaks to if the Tigers' play style was actually a bit more consistent, this would be quite a tight game, like on paper,
mm,
based
mm,
on the talent they've got. Okay,
yeah,
let's get into our halves. So the best two halves. You got Galvin and Latu Fainu, and you got CHT and Tamaida for us. I'm gonna
mm.
put Galvin in there, for sure.
I
Um, I,
agree.
I I like him in there. Um, Now I'll probably go to Mighty, um, based on that
Yeah,
kind. I'm thinking more of a combo type thing, but same time, I
yeah,
just think that that's actually probably the best halves options. What would you go there, bro?
yeah. I'll probably agree, bro. Yeah, Tomato Martin and Lockie Galvin. Yeah, I think they're the two ones. I think it's actually, I would say it's fairly close between Chanel and Galvin, but I would probably just edge Galvin just on like the potential of what I've seen from him at the moment. Where I just don't, I think Chanel's might be just a little bit. I don't know. I think Chanel's amazing defensively there, and I think Lockie's okay defensively.
Yeah,
But like Galvin just has those special moments at the moment going for him. So if I had to choose him right now, I'd go Galvin just for this one game off.
yeah. A lot of like Galvin's got a lot going from. I'm actually excited to see how he plays.
Mm,
I think he's definitely one of those talents to look out for.
yep.
Okay, so in the front row we've got um, um, Jacko, man, I know you hate tomato, man. Just Jacko, just honestly, he can't stand tomato, bro. And it's all good, bro. Just call it out. We'll understand it, bro. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, man.
Good old Galvin
uh,
at 7.
Galvin, it's I love it. So Fanor Blake, best props. So we'll go best props. AFB, Mitch Barnett, Stefano, and Fanor Poli. It's
Mm.
actually kind of a tricky, kind of interesting battle. I mean, just quickly on Stefano, how's he been going? And I know there's talks around Melbourne, if Melbourne can get him for the way
Be
they're
the
playing,
best thing for his career, bro.
far out.
It'd be crazy.
And he probably suits Melbourne's style too. Like from I think he'd
Mm.
go well there. But how's he been tracking this year? And do you feel as though he's um going? Yeah, how's he been going?
Yeah, very up and down, bro. Very up and down. Like he has moments where the hype that everyone bestows upon him to be like a Payne Haas type, and that you could see little moments out of that. But he reminds me a little bit more of Taniela Paseka than it is of like a Payne Haas at the moment. He's got potential, but if I'm going these battles here, my bro, like Adam Fanor Blake, Mitch Barnett for me out
Yeah,
of these two. I love Fanor Bole as well. I think he's a really good prop for the future, but I think the two props that we have right now have a possibility. Like Mitch Barnett for me has a possibility to be a Daily M prop of the year this year. I'll fight for that because I think he's been incredible for us consistently every game. So Mitch Barnett, yeah, for sure.
yep. Nah, I'm pretty confident with that too. Now hooker, we've got Uppy versus Walker. Sorry, Egan. Yeah, Uppy's just that. He just got something about his game. I just love it. And Egan, like to be fair to him, he's been good. I think he's
Mm,
actually low key been great defensively or just like playing
yep.
long minutes. I
He,
mean,
yeah.
last year he was riddled. He couldn't even play past 60 minutes a lot of the time. So I actually give him a lot of credit in that sense.
Yep.
But you got to just say Uppy in this situation for me, and he's still maintaining his form based on even the poorness of his team around him.
Totally agree, bro. Totally
Yep,
agree.
cool. We'll put Uppy in there. Okay, left edge. So we got Cape War. Cape War versus would it be Ruben Porter or would it be Samuela Fainu on the left side?
So we're going left edge, back rower. It'd be Samuela Fainu.
Okay.
Ton of talent, bro. Ton
Ton
of
of
talent,
talent,
but
yeah.
he is a walking sin bin, waiting to happen. He just always finds himself in those situations. I love him for his aggression. Like he works so hard. But if I was to choose out of these two at the moment, currently right now, I'd go Kurt Capewell because I know consistently he'll hold in a contest for 80 minutes and he won't let us down with 12 men on the field. Where Samuel Fainu probably has a lot of potential to him. He'll grow into something very, very special because he's a hard edge back rower, but needs to tone down certain parts of his game so he can be more consistent. That's his only problem.
Yep. Okay, now Marata versus Porter. Haven't heard much of Porter. I don't know anything, but is Marata just that cut above? Although I saw in the chat people saying Marata looking a little bit tight. I mean, there are times I thought that was probably Marata's worst game this season.
Game. Yeah,
some lazy efforts, like just really poor. Mentally, I thought he just wasn't locked in. But is Porter really a cut above Marata, even with his form kind of like a bad game from him, should we say?
Yeah, I'll go Marata every single day of the week. I think Ruben Potter's a good player that just fill in a spot, but he's a New South Wales Cup forward that's just filling in a spot at the moment. Where Marata Niokore, I think that there's a lot of teams in this competition that would absolutely adore to have Marata Niokore in their side. So, but I agree that last game was definitely his worst game this season. But like I'm gonna throw that up as a one-off right now because we've seen a lot of amazing things from him. As soon as he came back from his injury, you pointed out in your video the defensive efforts he had in those other games has been second to none. In that one game, probably was his most poor game. There was a lot of moments where I felt like he took the easy option instead of taking the hard option and filling in the line in certain spots. But I'm sure he won't do that 2 times, back-to-back games.
Yep. No, I totally agree. Now Walker versus Papali'i, I think that's a simple one for us. Definitely, I'd say Walker. And like you said, Papali'i is not really that, that middle forward type. Although he has done it previously, but you got to go with Walker in terms of that position.
He is going to be incredible next year for the Panthers, though. We all know it. Like next year, Isaiah Papali'i going to the Panthers, playing edge back rower. The Kiwi squad at the end of that year is going to really thank the Panthers for that one because he's going to be incredible.
Yeah, no, he will be great. Okay, now let's get into the bench, guys. Lussick, Jackson Ford, Jazz Tavanga, Leka Halasima, Talon De Silva. Just quickly on Talon, he had a great game.
Good little player, bro. Yeah.
Good little player, Silva. Seifath, he's always in the picture. Sione Fainu, the last of the Fainu brothers, and then Alex Twal. Look, man, I'm going to go off the top. I like Alex Twal. I really like him as a player.
Too.
I would put him in there for me.
Yep.
Now, as for the other guys, I don't really know, but if I'm going to build a bench, I'll probably go Twal, Halasima, Jazz, and I don't know who my fourth one would be, but who would you make up? Who would you pick from that?
I really, really like Talon De Silva. I really do. I think that, like, out of the two, I think Freddie's probably a better defensive number 9 out of the two, but attacking sort of sided number 9, I think Talon De Silva has a little bit of spark to him too, where like I could see a really cool rotation there. Like, so I'll probably go Talon De Silva at 14, Jazzy Tavanga, Leka Lasima, and Alex Twal. I reckon that's an incredible bench. Yeah, I reckon that's definitely the way to go. Jackson Ford and Alex Seyfarth are very similar players. Jackson is just a bigger body sort of type of that. Jackson probably gets through a lot of work like that. Alex Seyfarth's just a guy that goes out there, tries his heart out. But yeah, that's probably the best part of his game is he's just all effort. So that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, man. I'm with you. Look, a great little team there. Just on paper, obviously, it looks like we're dominating the forwards, so it does speak to everything. And I think maybe maybe we'll get into the stats after this, Ash. But the numbers would say that our forwards should dominate, and the majority of our back five is in there. But I think that's kind of a leveling thing, having the guys like MGT, Leatoa in there, just based on experience. It's kind of inexperience versus inexperience, but you'd like to say that RTS, and that will kind of be that securing factor. The Dallin will do the hard carries.
Yeah.
And MGT should have a pretty good game with costs. So, but we'll have to wait and see how they play. Galvin and Tamati in the halves. Yeah, Galvin, we definitely acknowledging him, and then Tamati there. But ultimately, our halves, with the experience that they've got, and with the forward pack, they should have the dominance in terms of forward pack. And we talked about the defensive frailties. They should have ample opportunities and ball to be able to score points. So, any other thoughts on that? How we stack up numbers wise? I mean, I'm not sure what the number would be there. It looks like we maybe won like by 10-7, or it's actually closer than maybe
like
we think.
Should be a decent little win there for us. But would you go? Obviously, like we were talking about goal kickers before. I'd put the goal kicking boot for these guys here. I'd put it up Coruscant. Even if Shinohara Savita was there, I think Coruscant is probably a better goal kicker. I think by the numbers, actually, I'm just going to quickly check up on this, but I'm not too sure if Chanel probably has a better actually kicking boot by the numbers. I'll just quickly get this up. But if he really,
you just got to give it on confidence at the moment too. Just like
on confidence at the moment.
Captain, who's the captain? Captain? Is it Uppy? Uppy versus Barnett? Who's the better captain?
Bro, I'll go Barney all day. Barney all day as a captain. Yeah, I think Uppy Coruscant is a good captain, but like Barnett, bro, for what he does for us, man. Like, but yeah, obviously the numbers give up. Shinohara Savita's kicking game for this one, but I think he's an overall 85% kicker or something like that, or it was like an 82%. Wasn't too bad. But obviously, I feel for him in that last one. Just he's going to be really targeted now as like not a good goal kicker, when maybe that was just the off night. Who knows?
Yeah. And there you go, guys. We've added some layers now. We've got goal kicking and captaincy. Anything else we're missing? Let us know in the chat. Okay, I'll stop that one there. Thank you very much, everyone, for participating in the chat. We appreciate you guys. Look, man, let's get down to the nitty gritty here. Guys, please hit the like as well if you haven't already. We're trying to get that minimum 50. I know numbers are low. The bandwagoners have left, but we appreciate you guys if you can hit that like. Nitty gritty, man. Score prediction. Like I feel, and I know this is going to be a hard topic, but when you take 2 losses and then the fashion with CHT, look, the points were there. We played 2 tough teams away, adding in that factor, and we had enough points to win both. Things like that happen. I think the team overall is solid. It is a good side. Not to underestimate the Tigers and not to disrespect them, but you should go in pretty confident that we can get the job done based on
100%
where we're at. So I'm feeling a kind of a strong win. There may be a few hiccups, MGT and with Kossi might get targeted. You never know. But I'm feeling like pretty decent. Like I'd say 12 points, could be 13 plus, but I feel we should definitely win by at least 2 or 3 tries. But what's your feels on the game? How do you think it will go, and your score prediction?
Yeah, bro. Just looking into like the stats of the 2 sides. So as I said before, the Tigers are the worst defensive side in the competition by points overall. Tries conceded, they're the second worst side, but it's only by 0.1%. So I'd probably say altogether they're the worst side. If you took it at run meters conceded, they're the second worst side. Giving away run meters. So I'm saying like as a collective, line breaks conceded 6.7. We've actually gotten a lot better in that in our past games there. We're now out of that top 5 range. The Dolphins have beaten us there with 5.5. They conceded in a game. We're 5.4. So we're getting better at not conceding line breaks and stuff. But the Tigers are just really, really poor in all these areas. They're one of the worst teams for errors in competition. They're one of the worst teams for giving away penalties in a competition. And by sin bins, by a long way, they are the worst team. They give away a ton of sin bins consistently as well. Looking on our side of things, coming into this game, our last 3 game average. So we are actually sitting around 20.6 points per game scoring wise. So, the last couple of weeks, we've actually jumped that up to 26.4, but, dropping it down due to the Doggies game and obviously the Raiders game over the last week where we only scored 18 points. Conceding wise though, defensively, we've actually been fairly good in our last 3 games. So 16.3 points per game is kind of what I said before. On overall, we're actually concede 22.7, which is 8th in the competition right now. Far from what we were before, being a top 4 defense, which we were to start the season. We've fallen away from that. But with a 66-point drumming against the Titans, I would have thought we would have fell completely out of the 8 discussion. We've dragged our way back into that top 8 defensive team in the competition. So that's not too bad. And 16.3 points per game conceded is actually a really, really good total if you actually look at the competition right now. The best team in the competition, the Penrith Panthers, they concede 15.6. The Doggies, they concede 16.6 points per game. So we're holding up there with one of the better defensive sides in the last 3 games in the competition right now. So I hold that to a very, very high standard. So now we're going to look at score predictions on both sides. I think, obviously we can score upwards of like that 26 to 28 range. So I'm going to give us the 28 sort of points being the high total due to how bad defensively the Tigers actually are this season. And defensively, I think we can actually hold them into around that 18 mark. So I'm going to go 28 to 18. I think that's going to be where it's at. Maybe 28 to 16 to give us a little bit of the advantage. I think we can limit them to under that 3 try and range. That would be really, really good to see. It's just as long as we can really shut down on Api Coruscant, because other than that, this team can be very limited. I don't see their kicking game again too. Latu Fainu, Lockie Galvin, both don't have amazing long kicking games either, which Jamal Fogarty had last week on us. So I see this very relative due to both halfbacks and stuff. So I see the upper hand there with Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. I think he's going to run rings around the Tigers in this one. I really do. I think he's going to have a massive performance here. And yeah, hopefully our forward pack can really match it and really get us in a good field position. Our boys really come together because, as I said, there was a moment there. Tamati Martin was just like he was throwing try assists left, right, and center. He can get back to that. I really do believe that. So I'm thinking, 28 to 16. I'm going to leave it at.
Yeah, no, good call. Just questions. We'll get into some questions, guys, before we close off. Thank you, everyone, for reminding us of these questions. Where was it? I just missed it. Are we done for the season? Let's talk technical, because I know people just the generic thought is like, yeah, we're done. But it's on a technical thing. You've still adamantly said that it's 13 wins gets you into the
Could be 12. Could be 12.
Could be 12. So actually, the interesting thing is that we do have that draw. So we got an extra point technically. Would that be right? So that could be the difference. The only thing I find with the draw is that it either puts you above or below the team. So if you tie with a team, you just got, you're either above or you're below. And the extra part, the hard part of it too, is that when you do have an equal points thing, and in some races I've seen them over the years, that points differential is the decider between the teams that are tied for, on points. So unfortunately, we won't get in that situation, but we still got to finish strong. I've said we're done, but at the same time, different times I feel differently. So, and then I'm from the old school too. I never give up. I've always been a points differential guy. Every year, every bad year we've had, I've been in those tables calculating. Okay, so if we get to 165 minus 142. That means we should get into the 8. So, I love it because I haven't done it. Last year I didn't do it, but it's nice to do a bit of a points differential or minus points differential if you guys are feeling up for it. But Ash, your thoughts, brother?
Yeah, if you look at the position where we're at right now, like the Rabbitohs are a smoky side, like not smoky side. They're the side that's like obviously everyone looks at the ladder now and sees us in the bottom four, but we aren't bottom four right now. Like due to the bye, the Rabbits have had all their buys. That's why they're above us on point range there too. So really, they should be 18 points, and we should be just outside that bottom four. Still not the best position that we should be in. But if you look on points differential for every other team ahead of us, the only team ahead of us just running into the 8, the Dragons are minus 56, the Raiders are minus 91, is the Broncos with positive 25. Then you got the Rabbits with minus 90, the Knights minus 97, and we're minus 34. So we're still holding it thereabouts. So if it comes to a points differential battle, we should be able to find our way around about there. I think our worst case scenario to be in the top 8 would be a 12, 1, and 11 finish. You can go 12 and 12. That would be 50-50. But you're 12, because we got the draw there, if we get 12 wins, we'll go 12, 1, and 11. That's our best scenario. Our worst case scenario to get into the 8. You know what I mean? So we would have to win pretty much every game towards the end of the season. I think we have the only ability to drop one more to be at that scenario. I'm pretty sure, if I've run my numbers correctly. And for me, the game I've circled for that is definitely that Manly game at 4 Pines is the one I'm worried about for majority to the end of the season. The other games that could pip us off, the Dolphins at Suncorp, it could be one, and our last game against PointsBet, the Sharkies at PointsBet. So it's going to be a really tough run home. We can make the 8. I've seen us do crazier things in the past. I still believe in the system that we have in place and the group that we have there. I know we have a lot of injuries, but I see a lot of spark there too. And we've been on 3-game streaks, a couple of times this season. So we just have to push that to a little bit more, to a 6-game streak to end the season. So I think we can do it still. I'm going to hold out hope until hope all dies out. But I see a lot of people, I can agree with them too. Like when you saw a 60-point slacking against the Titans, that's probably where a lot of people fell off and said, nah, it's probably dead and gone there. So, I'm still holding out hope, bro. I'm still holding out hope.
I think the teams you want to target is like the Raiders, like minus 91. They might not make it, but the Dragons minus 56. Cowboys on +3. Dolphins on 46. I mean, they may drop off a little bit. Those are the teams you're probably like trying to get at, and you want to try and build that points differential. But again, that's difficult too. Like Broncos, for me, they're going to carry on. I think with Reynolds, what I saw was like, so they'll probably be in the 100 plus by the time they've accumulated their ones. But if there's these other ones that are a little bit loose, like the Cowboys, if you can chase them, but it's a tough slog, everyone. But
for me, the teams to be watching out dropping out of the 8 would be the Dogs and the Dolphins. And the Dogs, the way they're going this season, I think they can fight their way still in the 8. The Dolphins are the main one for me that I can definitely still see them slipping. I know they had a great performance against the Panthers over the weekend and that, but I've seen some really big inconsistencies with the Dolphins. And obviously they've had all their games this season. They have had all their buys, so they've got a big run home, and they've got the Panthers and the Roosters, I think, still to come on their run home. So they've still got a tough track. Looking at other teams there, the Knights have still got the Panthers coming up very shortly. I think they got a bye this week or next week, and then they got the Panthers. So there's a drop points there probably in their future. The Raiders have also got a tough run home, so I don't see them holding up around there. The Dragons got a tough run home. The Broncos are the side that I probably see slipping in the 8 ahead of us. Yeah. That's where I see us maybe holding, like maybe not finding our way in. So we got to hope for probably 2 of these teams to drop out. And at the moment, I think the Dolphins and the Dogs, because I think the Cowboys, they've still got 2 buys to go. I think they're probably around about there if they just pinch a couple of wins. And I think they stay in Queensland for majority of their run home too. So, and so do the Broncos. So I think the big positive for us, bro, I think we have one of our first back-to-back home games probably this season. So that helps a little bit. If the home game advantage works a little bit there, that should work really well. I'm holding out hope, bro. And if we don't have hope, bro, what do we have? You know what I mean? We got to be positive. We got to be optimists a little bit. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is. You don't want to be a sad guy sitting in a corner crying about everything. Like, let's just look forward to things and see if these boys in the group can
enjoy,
do it.
Boys. That's enjoy and dream.
Just
dream.
Enjoy. Yeah.
Dream, boys. Have a dream. But what it'd be crazy if we played Manly at 4 points and they dropped a few games and then we have that draw with them and we're kind of like That'd be
fight it
mean to
out.
kind of get one. Yeah, fight out and like
It
actually
would.
win that one, and then you get the extra point of it. Oh, that'd be cool. But yeah, anyway, you're allowed to dream, people here. We appreciate dreams. We'll leave it there. Thank you everyone for coming through. I know I may have missed some questions, but we got to wrap up. But enjoy. Thank you very much for your time and effort. Please hit that like and subscribe. As always, my man Ash, thank you for your time, bro. We appreciate it and love you. And we're still battling on, man. I think this is episode 24, and you've
That's
done how
unreal.
many down unders, watch alongs, like the crazy amount of work we've been putting in. Appreciate you, brother. Just quickly, what do you got on tomorrow at Down Unders? You got a show on with Brody.
Yep.
No doubt he'll be rubbing it
Obviously,
in with.
that's yeah.
How
He's
was he
gonna be
after the
grilling
game?
me.
How was he
Bro,
after the game?
he's a good winner, bro. He's not too bad, man. He's very much like me, you know what I mean? I don't like to rub it in too much because I understand, like, I enjoy just football in general. So, but if he was to rub it in, I'd take it pretty well. I won't be going back at him at all. But yeah, he's definitely going to be coming with some fun stuff there tomorrow. And we're going to go through our combined 13 for our overall state of origin. That should be really, really fun. And then our games running into the rest of the season. So get excited for that, guys. And also my watch along. We're going to be doing a watch along this week, this Friday. I'll be doing that. Levon will be away, unfortunately, but he'll be there in spirit. Because I'll be probably calling out someone to knock him out at an airport if anything goes wrong there too. So
yeah, very nice. Actually, just quickly on Richard, I think he did say, Levon, who are you going to uppercut this time for? Look, man, I'm staying away. Even if there are some shockers, I'm going to be zen-like in my behavior. So yeah, and Jazz said, I heard CHT to make the bus. Hey, I just saw the video. He's playing pool. Maybe I need to go to the pool bar and do the old whack over the head with the pool stick. Just king shot over the top of the head. HIA.
Roadhouse.
Yeah. Actually, a good little watch, that one. And I think it was kind of tough watching it because it was pre what's it called? It was pre him missing the kick, but he does go to a pool hall. I'm wondering if people going down there right now and. No, I'm not going to be sad. That's it. I was going to say something about, missing a shot, the 8 ball.
My brother.
I love it. We'll leave it. We love Chanel. We love you, brother. But
love
yeah,
you, Chanel.
Thanks to all our mods, Jazz, as always, Tahi, all the brothers that help us out as well in the chat. But stay safe, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your week. Catch you later. Come to the watch along. Come to Down Unders as well, and to all of our content. Thank you very much, guys. Peace. Stay safe. Up the was.
Up the was.
You.